Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Salmon17 and I'm back doing another video. Hopefully I will be able to do this because my dad is at home and he's unfortunately sick. My family got a virus. Hopefully I did not catch one, but we shall see. But I am feeling good, so hopefully I will not get a virus. Basically, anyways, I'm just babbling. I wanted to talk about a very interesting topic about game consoles I used to play, but I never actually owned, unfortunately. And I wanted to start make a list on which game console I started and which game console I never and where did I play it and how did I and what kind of enjoyment I got from it and my experience with it basically. So, anyways, enough about that. Let's just start. No, some of you probably already know that I'm a huge old school PlayStation fan. I still play on my PS2 and PS3, but a lot of people think PlayStation PlayStation was the console I started out with in my gaming journey. No, 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 no. It wasn't PlayStation. It was a much older console that started out my gaming journey, and it was a cartridge based system gaming console. And a lot of people probably already will jump the gun and say, "Oh, you played a Nintendo and the Nintendo 64, or you played a Nintendo Entertainment System or whatever." And and for those who don't know, I wasn't a huge Nintendo fan. I never actually played a Nintendo-based system. But what I did play on a cartridge-based system is the Sega Genesis. I am not kidding. My first ever gaming experience for me was with with a Sega-themed console, the Sega Genesis, and it was my very first time playing a cartridge-based game console, and what made Sega Genesis unique for me, for its time was the fact that unlike most game controllers that have like 4 face buttons or just 2 face buttons, Sega Genesis had 6 of them. It had the I need to show you a comparison. I'll be right back. So here is my PS3 controller. For those who don't know, back in the day we didn't have analog based system. We used to play with only using the D-pads and 4 face buttons. Now, for Sega Genesis, it was kind of weird. Like for Sega Genesis, it had D-pads, sure, but it also had 3 or 6 face buttons, and it was really weird. But I think the reason for that is because Sega Genesis had games like Mortal Kombat or many other fighting games, and for those fighting games, a lot of fighting games used to have a lot of face buttons, like 6 face buttons or something. So for me, Sega Genesis was a big part of my childhood. Now, unfortunately, I did not. For those who probably have played Sega Genesis or still own the cartridge-based system, some of you probably think, "Oh, you played Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, you played Mortal Kombat. Oh, you played Streets of Rage." I did not play any of those games. I only got the chance to play those Sega Genesis games when I got. I only started playing those games years later when I got the Sega Mega Drive Ultimate Collection for the PlayStation 3. Unfortunately, it doesn't have Mortal Kombat, but it does have all the Sonic games and all the Streets of Rage games and many other Sega Genesis games that I never actually played. But there was one game I actually played on Sega Genesis on this collection, and it was a very obscure game. Some of you probably who don't know, but some of you who watched a YouTube channel called Some Call Me Johnny. I think that was YouTube's name. I think that was the YouTuber's name. I'm sorry, I'm really terrible with remembering names, so I apologize. But there was a very obscure Sega Genesis game I actually played on the actual console, and it was called Echo the Dolphin. And what's weird, the game was basically like that was my first like a Sega licensed game I ever played on the Sega Genesis. And basically, what the game is about is basically you basically play as a freaking dolphin. And at the start of the game, you basically like, oh yeah, we're gonna have fun and stuff like that. And then when you jump on one of the like puddles or something like that, then suddenly all your friends are whisked away by aliens, and then you have to like find a way to get to the aliens and defeat the alien. I actually never beat Echo the Dolphin, but I always thought it was my first experience with like a 2D full-colored environment in a video game, and it was really interesting because it was like one of my first games I played that it actually was like set in an environment that is underwater. Of course, there have been other games, but that take place underwater, like for example BioShock or whatever. But I think Echo the Dolphin was unique because you could actually like play as an aquatic animal that can actually like explore the vastness of the ocean and fight off sharks and stuff like that. And I think it was kind of interesting. Another games I actually played were like, I don't remember. I only played like, there were like TV licensed games even back in the Sega Genesis times, and I played the Flintstones and Tiny Toon Adventures on Sega Genesis. Now, for those who don't know, I grew up with Cartoon Network, and Cartoon Network used to show a lot of Hanna-Barbera cartoons back in the day, and I used to love watching stuff like the Flintstones, the Jetsons, Tom and Jerry, and whatnot, and many other Hanna-Barbera cartoons. One of my personal favorites has to be Top Cat, but that's just me. But overall, I feel like my favorite game I played on Sega Genesis was basically Tiny Toon Adventures. It was basically Sonic the Hedgehog, but with Tiny Toon Adventures characters. You basically play as Buster Bunny and try to save your friends. And the fact that he played the classic Tiny Toon Adventures theme on the Sega Genesis, it was really cool. Like for me, for those who don't know, I grew up with like Tiny Toon Adventures. I had the VHS that had like few episodes. I think one of the parts of the episodes were part of the film of Tiny Toon Adventures. Something about to do with summer, and one of the. And I remember there was a cameo of Superman where Superman saved Buster and Babs, and then later on, Superman was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna plummet you to your deaths. See ya." And I thought that joke was funny because Superman is a character that usually don't do this kind of stuff, but you know, it was an interesting experience. For those who don't know how I got the chance to play Sega Genesis, I had like an old friend that used to own a Sega Genesis, and I visited like my mom's friend lived in that house, and me and her and my mom were very close friends. She had a daughter, a husband, and also an orange. I also remember they had an orange, like a fluffy cat, basically. And then in the kitchen they had like a TV plugged in, like an old CRT TV, and also a Sega Genesis console. And since that day, I experienced my very first gaming experience, basically. So when it comes to gaming, I actually started off with a cartridge-based system, the Sega Genesis. Now, the next console I actually got to play, and the console that got me into getting my very first game console, the PS2, was the original PlayStation console. And the original PlayStation, man, like I only owned the two PlayStation games on my when I was in the Netherlands. I saw two PlayStation 1 games, brand new discs as well. I bought Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man game on the PS1 and 1. And I also have a bunch of PS1 games on the PlayStation 3. I bought them from PlayStation Network. I'm still trying. Later on, I might think about buying. I did create another account for the United States, basically, so you could buy some games, PlayStation 1 games from that site and download on my PS3. Hopefully, it will work out. But I need to buy like a PlayStation Network card that is in the US, and it's gonna be a doozy. But overall, PlayStation 1 was the start of my love for the PlayStation console. It was my first experience experiencing 3D games, basically, like three-dimensional games, and it was amazing. There were so many games. I experienced like Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon, Crash Bash, Spider-Man, and many other games, and it was madness. My friend that used to live next door to me had a PS1, and he mostly played the games. I could never get the chance to play them, but I did play some games. I remember my first experience with a horror game was Resident Evil 2 on PS1, and that game gave me nightmares, honestly. Like, it made me very scared. And he also had other games, like he had Grand Theft Auto 2, he had like the M&M's game, and a bunch of Disney games as well, Disney licensed games as well, like the Mickey Mouse game, the Donald Duck game, and he also had Dino Crisis 2, which is basically like, if you don't remember, guys, Dino Crisis was a game that was made by Capcom, by the same people who developed the original Resident Evil games. And Dino Crisis 2 was more action-packed, basically like an arcade action-packed game, but with dinosaurs. And I thought, holy shit, that is cool, but I never actually got the chance to fully play it. I do have Dino Crisis 2 fully sealed. I still haven't opened this yet. I have Dino Crisis 2 for PC. I actually saw this game in Netherlands when I was at the game store, and I was like, I have to have this. This game is a classic. But the reason why I haven't opened this game up yet or downloaded it on my laptop is because I'm using Windows 10. And a lot of you probably already know, Windows 10 is a very bad operating system, or OS for short, that does not like you playing older games. I'm not sure if Dino Crisis 2 will work on my laptop. It will work on my laptop easily, but the problem is the Windows 10 operating system. Windows 10 has a hate boner for older games, so I'm really scared to download this game on my PC. Plus, playing it with a keyboard will probably be a pain in the ass. I'm not sure if this game has controller support. Let's see. Sound card, yada yada. DirectX 7, that is a very high or higher. Windows. Yeah, it says it says Windows 98, 2000, Me, and XP basically, and it really sucks because this game was really cool. Basically, it was like a Resident Evil just with dinosaurs. Now, of course, you can actually download the original Dino Crisis from PlayStation Network. You can buy, but you need to have an American. You need to have an American PlayStation Network account to actually purchase that game from the PlayStation Network site from the US to get it on your PS3 system, which kind of sucks. But hopefully I will get the first Dino Crisis game on PlayStation Network. I was hoping to find Dino Crisis 1 for the PlayStation 1 on Netherlands, but unfortunately they did not have a physical copy for that game, so I could not get it. And so yeah. Even though this was really cheap and it was probably bad purchase for me because I did not look at the back of the box because I'm stupid. But hopefully, I don't know if you guys think I should download this game or not on my PC. But I don't know, man. It's kind of sucks that older games on newer like systems or operating systems do not work as well as some people might think. But overall, PlayStation 1 was my first exposure to PlayStation, and since then I love the PlayStation brand. I love playing the PS1 games. I actually beat, I 100% completed all the Spyro trilogy, PS1 trilogy on my PS3. I also downloaded all the Crash Bandicoot games, Resident Evil games, except Resident Evil 1, because I feel like if you want to play Resident Evil 1 respectfully, I will suggest playing the Resident Evil 1 remake. I might get Resident Evil 1, the original Resident Evil 1 on from PSN, but I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. But overall, I also have Toy Story 2 on PS1. I actually love that game. My friend actually owned the game on PS1, and I'm a huge fan of Toy Story, and the fact that they made a very good movie license game on PlayStation 1 is incredible. You basically play as Buzz Lightyear and go around exploring this huge ass, it's basically like a platformer plus collected fun plus a shooter in a way. But overall, I just find this game really fun. I still haven't beat it. I'm still struggling. Like I said, I have it on PS3, but I haven't beat it. I also remember another game my friend used to own on PlayStation 1 was Lara Croft. So it was my first experience with Lara Croft. You also shoot dinosaurs in the game. I do have the first Lara Croft game on my PS3, but I haven't downloaded the other Lara Croft games. I remember Lara Croft had a lot of sequels on the PlayStation 1, but I think my friend owned he only owned the first Lara Croft game. I think he had Lara Croft 2 as well, but I don't remember him playing the game. But I do own, did buy, back when the game store was open in my country, I did manage to get ordered online a Tomb Raider HD collection. It comes with all the Tomb Raider games that came out for the 7th or 6th generation of consoles. And it even has Tomb Raider Anniversary, which is basically kind of like the Resident Evil 1 remake. It's basically a remake of the first Lara Croft game. And actually, I beat the dinosaur boss, but I still haven't fully beaten the game. But I still enjoy playing the game. It's basically like Uncharted in a way, but this game, Lara Croft Tomb Raider came out way before Uncharted was a thing. So I think Uncharted was inspired by Tomb Raider, but overall, hopefully I will get the chance to play other Tomb Raider games like Legend and Underworld. I do hear good things about Underworld, but I haven't heard much about Legends. But hopefully I will continue playing the Tomb Raider games, the HD collection for Tomb Raider. I might try out the Tomb Raider 1 on PS1, but I'm not sure if it's as good as I remember. But overall, yeah. But PS1 was my first introduction to PlayStation, and since the PS2 was coming out, I was really desperate to get a PlayStation 2. And in 2004, between 2004 and 2005, during my birthday, which is at 24th of December, which is also at Christmas time, I got my very first game console on my own very own game console. I still own, even years later, the PlayStation 2, and I still love that console even to this day. So yeah, let's continue on talking about other consoles. I unfortunately did not own the PlayStation 1 because most people have this mindset where they think, oh, newer is better, and sometimes it can be right, but a lot of the other times it's not. It's not right. And for the longest time, I did not know the PlayStation 2 can run PS1 games. I was basically just playing PS2 games on PS2, but whatever. But overall, let's continue on talking about other other consoles I used to play, but I did not get the chance to own. And another console, it was basically a handheld console. Now, a lot of people are gonna jump the gun and say, Game Boy, Game Boy Advanced, the 2DS, the 3DS, and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of people in my day or outside of my country were completely obsessed with freaking Nintendo products, basically. But in my country, if you played a Nintendo-based system or whatever, you would be bullied to death, basically, if you told in schools that you have a Nintendo console. So I'm sorry, guys, I did not grow up with Nintendo, basically. But remember, I played the handheld game console that the Sony made, and it was the PSP, and I was very, very, very jealous of those who owned a PSP, because for those who don't know, I live with my family that do not like the gaming and basically hate the gaming. They always see it as childish nonsense, and of course they think, oh, I should grow out of video games and stuff like that. Basically, for them, it's basically study, 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 work, 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 no time for fun, fun is not allowed, and yada yada. And it's crazy, basically. And video games, for those who don't know, always help me with my depression. But for the longest time, I had a PS2, and I still have a PS2, still in working condition, and I recently played Bully, but overall, we're not talking about PS2, we're talking about the PSP, or some people might call it the PlayStation Portable. PSP was an amazing handheld system. Basically, it was a handheld console that could play PS2 like games on the handheld, and it was never seen. It was like never. It was something like that was never seen before. And a lot of people, PSP even could do more than that. You could watch movies in there, listen to music, and basically this was way before the age of smartphones, before smartphones became popular. But I was so jealous for anyone who owned a PSP. Some of my friends, they own a PSP. Some of my classmates, they own a PSP. And my mother's friend, worker, whatever, my worker friend also has a son that also has a PSP. And I was jealous because I could not get a PSP back in the day, because back then game consoles, games, whatever, were really expensive, and that's why, for those who remember, I did a video talking about fake PS2 games. That's why my dad kept buying me fake PS2 games, because they were cheaper and more profitable, because we could, like I said, live in a small country, and earning money here is not as easy as you think it is. And it is crazy, basically. I played a PSP, I played some PSP games, I played like Ratchet & Clank Size Matters, I played God of War, some racing games on PSP, and even, I think there was a Splinter Cell game on PSP as well. I do not remember, but I remember playing some kind of stealth game as well. It wasn't Metal Gear Solid though. But overall, the fact that a lot of people I used to know, or I don't know if they remember me or not, but they used to own a PSP, and I was really, really jealous that I could not get a handheld gaming system. Now, of course, I have a Nintendo Switch, but even though Nintendo Switch is kind of like a fine console, I feel like it's like a huge break. Now, of course, I could buy Nintendo Switch Lite to make it easier for me to walk around and use the console smaller handheld, but overall, that's like owning two consoles at the same time. But I did buy a handheld console from Japan, and I'm still currently waiting for that handheld console to come forward. Once if I do manage to get that console, if that console will arrive in my country, I will give you guys a very surprise video of what that console is. Some of you probably already know which console I bought, but for those who don't know, I will surprise you if that console will show up. But overall, yeah, I played PSP, but I never got the chance to own it, and I hate myself for not owning that console when I had the chance, because now for the PSP, the PlayStation Network store is closed, and yeah, and it's kind of hard to find a PSP console that is brand new and isn't like completely busted or whatever. But overall, yeah, PSP, it was a really amazing system. Another console, years later after the PSP, I used to play was the Nintendo Wii. That was my very first exposure to a Nintendo console, and Nintendo Wii was a unique console because I got a message. I should turn my phone's volume off. I apologize. Okay, let's talk about Nintendo Wii. Now, for those who think I never played a Nintendo console, that's kind of a lie, but the problem is I never owned a Nintendo console. Nintendo Wii was a different console because it was the very first console that actually like used a unique game mechanic called motion controls. Now, of course, those don't know, motion controls are nothing new. Like the PlayStation 3 also has motion controls like 6-axis. You need to move the controller left to right, side to side, shake it like this or something like that, whatever, and or shake it like this or like this. But overall, that's a different topic. But there was another motion control for the PlayStation called the PlayStation Move, and it was basically like the same thing as the Nintendo Wii. Basically, you used to own like a remote. In one hand you hold like a TV remote, and the other one you hold like a joystick or something like that. And it was a kind of weird experience because I never played a game that has motion controls, but Nintendo Wii was the first Nintendo console I used to play, and my very first console they used motion controls with. And it was a really interesting experience, and there were other motion controls like the Kinect I used, but that was basically on the stores back when stores used to have game consoles to play on. Consoles to see which console you prefer, which was I know a lot of electronic stores or gaming stores still do this, but it has become a rarity nowadays when they do stuff like Kinect or Nintendo Wii. That stuff is gone now, and Nintendo Wii was very interesting. Now, where I actually play Nintendo Wii, I actually play Nintendo Wii at Germany. Me and my family went to a vacation, and we visited a bunch of my mom and dad's friends who live in Germany. They used to live in Latvia, but they moved to Germany because Germany had better pay than Latvia, basically. But they, of course, still need to learn. They know German, so that's why they can live there. But I remember them having like a black Nintendo Wii console and Wii Sports. Of course, every time you buy a Nintendo Wii, every Nintendo Wii console came with Wii Sports game. And yeah, and I thought that was really interesting. Like, my family also enjoyed the console, but we never bought it because, my parents hate gaming. And what else I want to talk about? Another thing I remember, like I said, Kinect, but later years down the line they sold the console and it's not there anymore because some adults just hate fun. They don't like gaming. They find other ways to have fun. But overall, it's just like I'm gonna be turning 29 soon, but I still enjoy gaming even when I grow older, and I don't think I'm gonna stop loving gaming as I do even years later. But overall, Nintendo Wii was my first Nintendo experience, but I never actually sadly owned the console. And yeah, and the last console I used to play, but I never actually owned. That was the Xbox 360, and I actually remember playing Xbox 360 for the very first time. I held an Xbox controller. I don't have an Xbox controller, so I'm gonna show you guys to more like show you a visual aid. Xbox 360. This is the wired controller. I'm sorry, I need to. I'm gonna tangle it while I'm talking about it. But the Xbox 360 was a console I remember when I was little, I really wanted because everyone in my class or one of my classmates had an Xbox 360 console, and there was one game I really wanted to play on Xbox 360. That was like the Halo 3. Unfortunately, Halo 3 servers are shut down and are becoming unplayable on Xbox 360 anymore. But they did bring back the old Call of Duty servers on the 360, which is interesting. But overall, Xbox 360 was a unique console. I really want to know, like, I really loved the dashboard as well. I also watched like YouTube episodes. For those, some of you probably don't know about this, but I watched like a machinima series called RB and the Chief, and I always laughed my ass off when I watched that. And because of that, it was my first experience seeing an Xbox console and the dashboard and the games it had. And Xbox 360 had a huge online community. And I also heard that the Xbox 360 store is going to be shut down next year in June, I believe, or this year or whatever. But it was just kind of sad. But overall, Xbox 360 was a very unique console because I was, like I said, I was always used to playing on PlayStation. I always had the joysticks like this, X triangle and stuff like that, R2 and L2. And when I first time picked up Xbox 360 controller, it felt really weird. Like for those who don't know, like Xbox 360 has joysticks in opposite sides. It had a very weird D-pad. It had like A and B buttons and triggers. Unique triggers, and since I used to like with the PlayStation commands, when I first time played games like I don't know, like Dead Island, using an Xbox 360 controller felt like really weird. Like it felt like super weird to play with an Xbox controller because, like I said, I'm used to playing with a PS3 controller or PS2 controller, and it felt like a different experience. It felt like I was doing rocket science basically. I also played like a football game and whatnot, but Xbox 360 was a console that was really unique. I still miss that like the old dashboard, the X and B, the new Xbox Experience dashboard. And now it's basically like the generic Xbox One dashboard, and it looks kind of shitty. But overall, I never owned an Xbox 360 console, and the reason why I never owned an Xbox 360 is for many reasons. One, a lot of Xbox 360 games need to use 2 discs. Like for example, Dead Space 2 needed to use 2 discs to fully functional, while PlayStation 3 needed only 1 disc because a Blu-ray has bigger compatibility than the DVD. Second, a lot of Xbox 360 controllers, wireless ones especially, needed batteries, AA batteries, and of course I do hear that Xbox 360 controller has a longer battery life than the PS3, but the problem is always wasting money on the AA batteries. Thirdly, Red Ring of Death. A lot of Xbox 360s had problems with Red Ring of Death. Of course, they fixed that issue with the new Xbox console, Xbox S or the Xbox 360 Slim. But I still haven't bought the game console, and fourth reason for that is pay to play online. It's bad enough you waste money on it's bad enough you waste money on the internet itself, but now you have to pay extra money just to play online? That is crazy. So because of that, I chose PS3 over Xbox 360. And unfortunately, a lot of modern day consoles, even Nintendo Switch, have pay to play online services, and I thought that is just stupid and unnecessary. Some people might say it's a nitpick, but overall, I just think it's kind of stupid that you have to pay to play online. You need to pay extra money just to play online with your friends and family and whatnot. But overall, Xbox 360 console I never used to own, and it kind of saddens me because Xbox 360, like I said, the controller is very unique. I don't know what it was, but Xbox 360 was kind of like a console that felt like we are in the future. It's the most futuristic console ever and whatnot, and it was crazy. There are consoles I used to play, and where did I play Xbox 360? I played it. Where did I actually play the Xbox 360 console? It was in Poland, basically. I apologize if I'm not looking at the camera. I'm just trying to put the controller back in the drawer. Basically, Xbox 360 I played in Poland. Me and my family went to a vacation, and we stayed at a hotel that had an Xbox 360. And that day I experienced Xbox 360, and unfortunately, I did not have games like Halo or Gears of War or whatever, but I did play like Dead Island, the first Dead Island game, and a FIFA game or whatever. But they didn't have other games. Like I said, it would have been cool to actually try out Halo on the 360, but unfortunately, no matter where the store I went or whatnot, I never actually experienced Halo on the Xbox 360 or whatever. And yeah, I did play Halo Combat Evolved on PC, but it's not the same as playing it on Xbox. But overall, that's just my opinion. And yeah, I did play games like I did play consoles like PS4 or Xbox One, but those were at the stores. But it's not the same as the other stories I told you. But overall, yeah, it was crazy. Hope you guys really enjoyed this video. It is a long video, but it is a long video because I was just fooling around and talking about consoles I used to play, but I never actually owned. And yeah, what do you guys think of this video? Hope you guys really enjoyed this because I really love talking about older consoles and older entertainment in general. And hope you guys, and what are the game consoles you guys own? Let me know in the comments what game consoles you own and used to play, and like this video if you actually really enjoyed this. So hope you guys see you guys later, and this is Asylum 117 signing off.